What do you do when you've been training for an extended period of time, but you don't like the physique that you're left with? This is an interesting question that was posed to me, and let's take a deep look at it. I received a very interesting email from a subscriber who was extremely frustrated because he did not like the way he looked on the beach, on the boat. And this is an endurance athlete who specializes in what we refer to as a half Ironman, which is a 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike, and a 13.1 running race. Now, the reason why I wanted to give the distances and the reason why we have to set the context is the human body is going to adapt to the way it's exposed to training, both on a volume, a frequency, and an intensity standpoint. When you start getting into higher volumes of training, what you have to realize is most people don't keep up, not intentionally, but most people struggle to keep up with the amount of calories that they're burning. So what we see is an athlete tends to look very low on the muscle tone side because of the high volume of training that they're doing. Another dynamic associated with muscle composition is, are you training very explosive, which tends to build very thick, very bulky looking muscles? Or do you train more long aerobic type training where the muscles have a tendency to elongate and become thinner? Start putting these two elements together. They complement one another. If you're training extremely heavy, you're in the gym, you're lifting very heavy, lifting short amount of reps, short amount of reps, 4 to 5 sets. When you're sprinting or doing anything cardiovascular wise, everything is very explosive. You're going to have a much bulkier, bigger look than somebody who's doing long, sustained aerobic type effort. And this is where the conversation became very, very interesting, because while training for a half Ironman, the individual didn't like, he called it the runner's look, very frail looking. And that's the very dangerous and difficult side of training, when you don't understand how you're training and what the byproduct of the body is going to be. I'll give you a specific example. When you're out training and you're in heart rate zone 2, you're burning fat as a primary fuel source, heart rate zone 2 and below. Your body is converting stored body fat into fuel. You're becoming more efficient at burning fat for fuel, and you're teaching your body to spare the use of your stored sugar in your body. And that's what allows you to be able to go progressively longer and longer without running out of energy. Well, at the same time of doing that, what you're doing is you're producing more of a muscle fiber type B, slow oxidative. And what happens is that muscle does have a tendency to become more elongated. It loses some of its girth and it literally becomes longer and more streamlined. Now, what becomes fascinating about the way that you're training is whenever you're in a load-bearing exercise like running, the lighter you are, you lower your percentage of your body fat, the faster you're able to go at a more economical level. And when we talk about the economics of running, we're talking about your ability to convert sugar to energy, your ability to get water to the skin to dissipate heat, etc. There's all kinds of different elements. But think about it this way. When you're doing something for a sustained long period of time, the body is going to adapt to what you ask it to do. When you're doing something very short and very explosive, it's going to adapt to what you ask it to do. Muscle fiber types are going to look the way that you stress them. Now, if this is something that is a very obvious conversation, I apologize that you've given me this much time up to this point, but I was surprised when I started sharing with some of my other clients about what do you think happens to your body the way you train. I found more people were not aware of the idea that they couldn't essentially sculpt their body to what they wanted it to be, not realizing that it's the exact opposite of how they're training. Let me give you another brief example. We had a lady who was training for Ironman Lake Tahoe, and I live in Florida and we don't have a lot of hills, obviously. Well, in an attempt to get her strong enough to be able to do the amount of climbing that the bike course demanded, we did a lot of seated hill repeats on a stationary trainer. Well, your glute muscles are required, or those are the muscles that play a significant role in the generation of power in a seated position on the bicycle. Well, as we got her seated bike strength up, her watts per kilogram went up significantly. Unfortunately, her behind sprouted. It's a muscle, right? So what ended up happening is her low-cut jeans and her low-cut shorts didn't fit anymore, and she became very frustrated with that. So just to give you an idea, the way that you train is the way that your body will adapt, and sometimes that doesn't always correlate to the way that you think is the ideal look on the beach or on your boat. So to eliminate the frustration, just understand your byproduct of training is not really caring too much about what you want. It's about the demands that you're putting the body under specific to what your sport requires of you. A runner is going to have a different physique than a power lifter. A power lifter is going to have a different physique than a surfer. A surfer is going to have a different physique than a BMXer. There's always some small percentage of overlap, but for the most part, when you see somebody who they're getting so good at their craft, you'll notice that their physiques all start to look exactly the same. I'd say 95% of the athletes, you go to any discipline, you're going to see 95% of the people look very, very similar. So hopefully this is not a Debbie Downer video for you. I hope that the way that you're training is producing a physique that you're very, very happy with, because most importantly, I just want you to be healthy, I want you to be happy, and I want you to be good at whatever discipline of sport you want to be good at. I want to thank you for watching this video today. We do strive to put a new one out every day on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, we encourage you to do so. Turn on those notifications. If you haven't had a chance to like this video, we'd deeply appreciate it. It does help the algorithms with YouTube. Thanks again for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.